So this week, I have found that I've been reevaluating aspects of my life. And I don't know why, but things are surfacing that I haven't thought of in years and years and years. And I know today I was sitting in the hot tub before I came to service, before I did meditation, and a whole event from my past with people came in. And I hadn't thought of this in probably 40 years. And I'm going, so what is it that's drawing up from my subconscious mind that's wanting to be expressed? And what I realized at the event that had happened was an event that in my subconscious mind I was seeing as limiting, that was holding me back. And what it was I've asked in my before I go to bed, I always ask a question. I ask a question, so what is it that I need to know that needs to be brought to the surface that I can release so that I can step into my greater beingness? And so apparently, this is what's being answered this week. All of these events, all of these people, all of these situations are resurfacing for me to reevaluate, see the good and see the bad, and then so I'm seeing it from the divine. Are you hearing that? In order to see something from the divine, you've got to see all elements of it. The divine does not see one side or the other. The divine sees all sides, and it's without judgment. So that's what's happening. And so I thought about that as I'm going through the process, and I'm saying, okay, so what can we talk about? Because everyone's in a different place of wanting to create a new body, new finances, new job, new relationship, new whatever it is. Everyone's seeking to experience new. And so I decided I would start with, let's talk about the creative process. This is how I define the creative process. To use the law of attraction, we must be persistently and consistently direct our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions toward a desired outcome. There are a lot of really important words there. The first word is we must. The word must. And then you follow with the next three words, persistently and consistently. Those are critical aspects in using the law of attraction. It's not that we do it this time or sometimes. We do it persistently and consistently. When we fall off the wagon, we go back to the persistent and consistent. We're always returning to it. So what are we doing? We are aligning our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings toward a specific outcome. You see, a belief is the alignment. When you have a belief, your thoughts, words, and actions and feelings are all aligned toward that specific outcome. And because it's a belief, you're thinking it all the time. So it's persistent and consistent, right? So if you have a belief, persistent and consistent, thoughts, words, actions, and feelings all aligned toward a specific outcome, then the demonstration is already in your life because you become it. So why doesn't this work all the time? Because there's more to it. There are more steps to it. And here's the one I want to talk about. I was watching Reverend Ike. Anyone ever watch Reverend Ike? Reverend Ike is phenomenal. I think he was around till maybe the late 1980s, if I'm guessing. He was a black African-American minister in New York who taught these teachings, and he was really into abundance. And Ike, people say, Lee, you're direct. I said, boy, Reverend Ike is direct. Reverend Ike pulls no punches. And he talked about this. He says, visualization is using our imagination to see ourselves being, doing, feeling, and having the good that we desire. Now, the word feeling was not in Reverend Ike's quote. I took the liberty of adding it in because if the feeling is not there, the visualization is not complete. I know that Ike meant it, but when he said it, it wasn't there. So the whole idea is if we're going to create outside of our current spectrum of life, we must be able to see it, feel it in our mind's eye. And this is where the process of visualization is something we should be doing every day. And all it takes is a couple minutes. If you wake up in the morning, you've got a specific result, whatever it is, a job, whatever. Sit for a couple minutes and just take the time to imagine Because here's the key. When you first start imagining, your imagination's going to be this big. But each day as you imagine, it gets bigger and bigger because it's building. You see, that's how our process works. We can't automatically, if we have a set paradigm of thinking, we can't imagine something bigger than what our current paradigm is. And so when we start doing it every day, we start to free our imagination, which we, by chance of by age, we've locked up. And by freeing it, the imagination says, oh my God, I get to explore. And so it starts to explore, and it starts adding new words, it started adding new ideas, it started adding new feelings, ways of being, seeing, and living it. So I want to take it further. So I want to say that if we can't see it, we will never have it. It's not enough to see someone else having what we desire. We must see it for ourselves. A lot of times people will say to me, Lee, they got it so I can have it. Well, that's a true statement. If someone's got something, they have the same power in them to create. But can you see yourself having that? If someone is driving a Rolls Royce, I'll use that example because that was one of Reverend Ike's favorite things. Reverend Ike drove a Rolls Royce. One Sunday, he was teaching abundance, and outside of his center, he had 14 Rolls Royces lined up. And he took his community into them because he wanted them to be able to feel, what does it feel like to be in a Rolls Royce? Now, if you came to conclusion that if I had a Rolls Royce, oh my God, my gas bill's going to be horrendous. Oh my God, I can't afford the insurance. Oh my God, someone might hit me. Oh my God, where am I going to park it? See, if you're having all those thoughts, you can't have a Rolls Royce. Because you can't imagine yourself having it. What you're doing is you're coming up with all the reasons you can't have it. I get someone coming up to me, Reverend Lee, I want my perfect partner. I want my perfect mate. And then you listen to them talk and they go, but you know, when I had this experience, this happened. And when I next experience, I drew the same type of thing to me. What are you doing? Are you visualizing what you want, or are you visualizing what you don't want? There was a beautiful woman that came to the prior center that I was involved with when I was an assistant minister there. And this woman had been divorced 8 or 9 years. And she came to me on the side and she set up a private session. This is when I was a practitioner yet. I wasn't a minister yet. And she said to me, I want a relationship. What do I need to do? And I literally sat her down and we wrote down the entire thing of what she had to do. And one of the things I said, you have to eliminate talking to your girlfriends about what's wrong with men. You hear that one? You've got to eliminate talking to your girlfriends about all the bad relationships you've had. You've got to eliminate going on a date and talking about how your past relationships have failed. You've got to build a list of what does this relationship have. And you've got to visualize yourself being in it every day. Time goes by. I left the center. I started Agape. So it's about almost 2 years later, I get an email. Reverend Lee, you won't believe what happened. He found me. He's perfect. We're going to get married. And she did. And she's still married today. It's like 8 years later. But she took the advice and she used the creative process. She directed all of her thoughts, her words, her actions, her feelings. And every day she imagined living the life as if it was already there. She imagined being the woman in the relationship. How would she feel? And she realized that the feeling she was seeking, she didn't need the man. But because she didn't need the man appeared. You see, when you need something, you attract something into your life that breeds what? dependency upon, conditional relationship. And relationship based on conditions is a relationship destined to fail. Because remember, what is the greatest underlying value we have? It's the value of freedom. And if you have to be away to be with someone, you're not free, and eventually you will lash out or you will find something outside of the relationship because you want your freedom more than you want to please a person. We will please a person for a period of time. I know that my wife is either over pleasing me, or she's the most persistent person I've ever met. Because it's almost 45 years. And yet she's just easy to be with. It's just a joy to be with her. We can travel. We traveled down to Huntsville area yesterday to do a wedding from a friend of my son Matthew's in the middle of nowhere. It was like this retreat center that you would not even imagine a wedding could be. And there we were. We drove down in silence, or we listened to the radio, or we listened to music, or we listened to Abraham, or we talked. Or sometimes we just stood in silence. It's easy. When you're able to be yourself, it's easy. This is the one thing we should visualize the most. How can I be better me? How can I be more authentic as me? Because when you can be the more authentic you, the world loves you more. We can only be and have what we see ourselves having in our own mind. If you can't see it in your mind, it's not going to happen. Some people say, I want to be a multimillionaire. Well, can you see what it means to have multi-millions of dollars? Can you see that you have to become an expert on investing? Can you see you have to become an expert on how do you use your money? Can you see that you have to be an expert? Because chances are, if you're not a millionaire today, you do not have millionaire habits. It's just that simple. Because if you had millionaire habits, you'd be well on your way, or you would be a millionaire today. There's no other way to say that. Because if you have the habits of, you are that. So we don't have to excuse ourselves for not having it. What we've got to do is find out what are the habits of being a millionaire. And here's what a millionaire thinks. A millionaire finds ways to give the gifts they've got to more and more and more and more people. They understand the more they're of service, the more they receive. A millionaire also understands that the number one thing is not to spend. The number one thing is to save and invest. When they get their money, the first thing they do is they save and they invest. They don't go out and spend. They don't wait to the end of the month after they paid their bills and say, what's left over? That's what I'm going to invest. That's not a millionaire mindset. And see, we aren't brought up with those things. I don't know about you, but my father was a fireman. My mother was an immigrant who got a college education in her 40s. They knew nothing about money. So I was not brought up with a consciousness of what does it mean to be wealthy. But what I did find out is as I started in my path, I chose the corporate world, and I got into the insurance aspect where there was a wealth building thing, and I took classes and I started to understand wealth. I understood saving first, and so I was able to change. And I can see that's demonstrating with my son's paradigm about money. It's different than I had when I was their age. And so I'm saying that to you because I want you all to be multimillionaires. Why? Because then you're going to be free to use your money to give your gift to the world in ways that the world will be a better place. Isn't that why we want money? So we can use it to make the world a better place? Because there's a certain level of comfort. Once we have that level of comfort, we don't really need any more. It's just, then it's just filling this hole inside of us that can't be filled with money. But once we use our spiritual practice, that hole is filled so we can use money, because money's just energy. Here's a big thing. We've got to give thanks when someone else has what we want. And then we've got to be able to see it. You see, if someone is a billionaire, you don't go criticizing them. You give thanks that they've got it, And now you start the process of giving it, because if you're envious or you're resentful about someone having something, you're saying to the universe, I'm never going to have it. I'm separate from it. So you've got to be able to bless these people. You hearing that? When you see someone that's in a great relationship, bless the relationship that they have. And then you start becoming it. When you see someone in perfect health, or a perfect body, bless they've got the perfect body for them, and bless they've got the health, and now you start creating your own. Because remember, the creative power that's in any human being is the same creative power that's in all human beings. It's a matter of how are we using that creative power in our lives. So then we've got to ask, when visualization, when we've got something, what does it look like? And this is what we're doing in visualization. We're building, what does it look like? 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 So if you're going to be, let's say you're going to be a property czar, and you're going to have rental properties all over the Metroplex, you've got to be able to visualize that you've got those properties and that you have a manager that handles them, that takes care of them, so you have no worries about them, and this manager is paid wonderfully because you're making lots of money on it. You see, I've taken it out of I have to do it because I don't want to manage property. I want to own property because it's a great investment, but I'm going to delegate out to someone else what I don't want because that's probably what they want to do. See how I'm going at it? It's about thinking, what does it look like? And you've got to be able to say, so if you're creating your perfect body, what does that body look like for you? Not what does the magazine say it's going to look like? Because I could go to the magazine and say, that's what I want. Ain't going to happen. Because no one in the world is built like me. No one in the world is built like you. So you have to decide, what does your perfect body look like? And there's no right or wrong answer. Not only do you have to know what it looks like, you got to know, what does it feel like? What would it feel like to you if you were debt-free? And you knew that every moment when you woke up, you knew that you had enough money in the bank that you never had to worry. What would that feel like? Would that not feel free? You know, we talk about modern-day slavery. Here's what modern-day slavery is. Modern-day slavery is debt. There's no other way to say that. All debt enslaves us. When you become debt-free, you understand the freedom that comes with it. I can remember listening to Susie Orman, God now, 18, 19 years ago. And something she said about being debt-free resonated with me, and I vowed within 5 years I would be debt-free. So 5 years later, Gene and I were debt-free. And with that freedom, it allowed me to go to ministerial school. With that freedom, it allowed me to start a spiritual community. If I was not debt free, I probably could not be in this situation. And the beauty of being debt free is that when you're debt free, all of that extra money, what are you doing with it? You're saving and investing it. You're becoming wealthy. Because now you're not paying other people interest on the money. You're putting money out there and you're receiving back. You're leveraging your money so your money can grow so you can do what you want. You've got to be able to visualize that, though. Visualize yourself there setting up automatic deductions from your paycheck going into your 401k, going into your savings, going into your IRA, going into your brokerage account. You visualize that. See yourself doing that already in your mind's eye. And then you start the process. Once you visualize it, then eventually you're going to start the process and you're going to take action. And you're actually going to set it up. And then you've got to ask the question, who would I have to become to have this that I want? Who would I have to become? And then you start seeing yourself becoming that man, that woman. You've got to become it in your eyes, in your feeling, in your heart. And finally, you've got to answer this question. Why would this make my life better? Because if there is not a big enough why, it isn't going to happen. A lot of people put, I want this, I want that, but there's no juice behind it because they haven't figured out why. And one of the things I love when Dr. John DeMartini teaches, he would tell you, if you've got something you really want, you've got to be able to list 50, at least 50. He talks about going 200 whys. This will benefit you and benefit society. So if you're really serious about taking something in your life and making it different, you've got to be able to sit down and you want to spend some time. It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It may happen over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It may take several hours. But you've got to write down, why is this going to benefit me? Why is it important? Because once you've got that why, that's the juice, that's the fuel of the desire. And then now, because you've got the why, you will be persistent and consistent. You will direct all your thoughts, words, actions, and feelings toward the desired world. You will get up in the morning and spend 2 to 5 minutes visualizing it, seeing it in your mind's eye. You will become the man or the woman who already has it. And when you become it, you will have it. Because it's the law. It must work that way. It only works that way. The question is, no one can do this for you. People can support you as you're on the path, but you, each of you, has to do your own work. And so in some respects, it's a lonely journey. But in other respects, when you have a community like this, you have like-minded people who will support you. I believe that we were brought here to be in community. I do not believe we were meant to be alone. I believe that community is the way that things happen. And so when we can honor that and see that and not judge other people, but know that other people are here to support us, it's all good. So the question I ask is, what do you want? And are you willing to pay the price? Let's pray. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.